Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Women Talking Money podcast. My name is Gretchen from Magenta Financial Planning, and today I'm joined by Rayner Mayers. Rayner is a multi-award winning Welsh entrepreneur who started her very first business at the age of 23. After leaving school at 16 with very few qualifications, she was pregnant and claiming state benefits. She made a promise to herself then that one day she would make something of her life. With no business experience or business acumen, she headed straight to the trenches and worked the only way she knew back then. And that was working really hard. So Rayner went on to scale and successfully sell 40% of her business, which saw her exit the cleaning business in December 2021 at the age of 36, becoming a self-made millionaire, the first in her family. She's now on a mission to help other budding entrepreneurs who want to start to scale their cleaning companies with her new business, Falcon Cleaning Academy, soaring to new heights. So welcome, Rayner, and thank you for joining me today.
Thank you very much for having me on and inviting me. Thank you.
Excellent. So, covered a little bit of what's gone on with you, but do you want to just maybe tell the listeners just a little more that you'd like to add to that story for them so they've got your background?
Yeah, I think, as you said, I left school with pretty much one GCSE and a baby, which wasn't ideal at the age of 16, and it certainly wasn't great for my grandparents anyway. And I think for years I carried just this huge sense of shame, disappointment. I let people down. I almost just felt instantly like I failed in life. And I think for a long time, carried that fear of, or not fear, that thought of, I'm a failure, I've let people down. And I think that's a huge reason as to why I am who I am today, because I'm so driven, so determined to just explore as many avenues as I can. Because I think once you've lived with that thought of you're a failure and then you start to achieve things, you find it hard to accept and you find it hard to think that it's actually real. So you start even questioning and doubting yourself even more then and say, well, is this just a fluke? Is it, is this my life? Is it just something that you're missing? But actually, it's the reality of who you are as a person. And it's taken me a long time to get to that point where I'm content with what I've achieved and I'm proud of what I've achieved. But it's taken a long time to actually accept that all of that's come from just sheer hard work.
Absolutely. And so this new venture is kind of your next step, I guess. Tell us a little bit about what that's, what your aim with that is.
So Falcon Cleaning Academy has been born out of sheer just love and care and passion for not just the industry itself, the cleaning industry, but for the people who work in the industry. It is a tough slog. Anyone that is listening that either works in the cleaning sector or runs a facility business, cleaning business, it's demanding and challenging. And I think on times the reward and the perception is not one that's great and not one that serves the sector as well as it should do. So I want to try and help shape and change that, and I want to work with companies to help them gear their business up so they are being the best in the cleaning industry. They are achieving those accreditations. They are setting the bar at very high standards and showing people that cleaning isn't just cleaning. It's not going in and whipping a duster around or a cloth and just mopping floors. They have to understand when you're running a business, you've got to understand an element of HR, accounts, finance. There's so many moving parts to running a business where you've got remote staff. So 99% of my staff were out in the field remote. So managing a remote workforce is challenging, and you've got to make sure you've got systems and processes and KPIs and trackers. So I want to help other cleaning business owners get to a point where they've scaled their business. They've hit, some of them want to hit that 7-figure turnover. And I want to be the one to help them believe and achieve.
I guess it feels like it's about helping people not just survive in the business that they're running, but like thrive in the business that they're running.
Definitely. Yeah. I just run a workshop actually, and it was called Thrive in 25 because, with what the budget announced in terms of national insurance contributions. And I think, that's going to hit businesses massively, and it's going to hit them really, really hard. And especially in the cleaning sector, your margins are already scores and tight, and it's difficult to run a profitable business. So I want to help businesses, work with them and get them to a point where they are running, they are operating, they're happy as owners and they're profitable.
Well, at the end, we can tell everyone how they can find you and stuff like that and where to follow you on social and stuff. But let's just start to talk a little bit about money then. That's what I'm here to talk about. So taking it back a bit further then, obviously you've talked a little bit about school and in the bio I said about you launching the first business. But if we think really early days, what's your sort of earliest memory of money? And how do you think that, if it did at all, don't know what the memory is, but if it did at all, shaped, those kind of things that you did at those crux years that you were having to make some really tough decisions?
I think with money, it stems right back to your childhood, dependent on what kind of upbringing you've had or what family members you've had around you. But my parents, my dad ran a business, my mum helped in the business a lot. So I was around very transactional businesses anyway. It was a very small business, it was a little family business. So I was around that anyway. But one of the sayings that stayed with me forever, which is very common, is money doesn't grow on trees. I've planted a few trees, and yeah, the fact of the matter is money does not grow on trees. And it's, not for the love of not trying. But I think understanding that for me, the way that I was brought up to earn money was you've got to work hard. And that's never left me. That's the only thing I've ever known. My grandparents had a fruit and vegetable shop, so they were hardworking, early mornings, weekends. My father had his own business, which he'd be out of the house 3, 4 in the morning. So that's the only way I've ever really known is how you generate money through working hard and working with my hands.
Do you think that, so when you left school in that position where, you didn't have qualifications and having a baby, was it the naturals, in the bio I read, it was very much like you did what you knew how to do and got on with it. How was that? Like those, going out, doing it alone and knowing that you'd got that pressure as well of a child?
It was scary. It was petrifying, in fact. I was claiming benefits at the times, and anybody that looks at people on benefits and thinks that they live this glamorous life, I can tell you now back then, I mean, my son's 23 now, and I can tell you back then, I did not live a glamorous life on benefits. I didn't have a plasma TV on my wall. I didn't have a luxurious lifestyle living off benefits. It was literally scrimping and saving every single week. My first ever job, actually, other than working in my parents' business, was working in a fish and chip shop. So again, it's hard work. I knew, and then I went into care work. So I did care work for the best part of 4 or 5 years, and I loved care work. It was amazing. It was out in the community. So when I set up the ironing business, I mean, other than the end service, which was caring or ironing, I was out in the community anyway. I was going from house to house. I was on the road. I was never, other than running my own business where I work from home, I've never had an office job. I've never had a 9 till 5. All of my working job roles, no matter what they've been, has been unsociable hours, evenings, mornings, weekends. So I was kind of, I never kind of fitted into, if people look at the norm kind of way of living, that I've never kind of fitted into anything, school, college, university, or 9 till 5. I think I kind of went off the rails a long time ago, looking at my life. Actually, looking back, I've never done anything traditional of what, we're taught in school. This is what you do, this is what you do. And I think getting the care job, when I first had the care job, like I say, I loved it and it was great. But I just knew I have a very active mind, a very, very active mind. And I just couldn't silence this voice inside of me saying that if I want to achieve the dreams that I could see in my mind, bearing in mind I had 0 pennies in the bank, let alone pounds, I just knew that me working in my care job, no matter how many hours I did, I could be out to the house 16 hours, but because it was travel, and back then they didn't used to pay travel time, I'd sometimes only get paid for 7 hours. So I've given up a Saturday to work 16 hours back and forth, and I get paid 7, 8 hours. So I just knew that that industry was never going to satisfy my dreams and give my children a life that they deserved. You bring children into this world and it's your responsibility as a parent not to spoil them, but to at least give them as best life as you can. And I'm not saying that is taking them on holidays, but I had this dream of taking my kids to Florida, and I wanted to do it before my son was 11. and I didn't have a penny in the bank, and I just thought, I'm not going to be able to do that on my care packet. So, and that's where I pondered for about 6 months, because people laughed at the ironing idea. They were like, ironing? Who really wants their clothes ironed? And I was like, well, mums and dads are busy. Mums and dads work these days. Let's just, I can only try. And that's exactly what I did. I put an ad up in the shop. I tried, and it went better than expected.
Yeah, absolutely. And just thinking about that, you'd obviously got this goal that like you wanted to, take your son to Florida and had that. So, that's a financial goal, isn't it? That's sort of motivating, but quite a massive one when you've got no money. So do you think that, it's clearly being a really big driver as to sort of setting yourself goals and working towards that?
Massively. I think that's probably the first financial goal that I can remember setting for myself personally. It was to take my kids. At the time I had a son and daughter. I've still got a son and daughter.
Yeah.
It was, yes, I still got them. I can't get rid of them. My goal was to take the both of them to Florida. Didn't know how, didn't have a clue what, if the ironing was going to take off. And that was my first kind of, I suppose, realization, looking back, actually kind of made me realize that that's probably the first financial goal that I set within my business. And from that point on, when I started to realize the phone was ringing, I was in high demand, people wanted house cleaning, then I was employing staff. You move the goalposts. So I did manage to take the kids to Florida by the time my son was 11. So that was, being able to, but I could already see that in my mind. I could already see, if I'm lying down or in bed, I could already imagine what that felt like being in Florida with my kids, that level of satisfaction, the proudness to come from where I was to that moment. It was like a lot of gratitude and appreciation for, even though I wasn't living that life, I could see it. And from then on, pretty much, I would say every goal I've hit has been written down on a piece of paper or on a vision board or whatever. I've got, I shared on, I think it's LinkedIn or social the other week. I've got loads of journals and books, and in one of them, my biggest ever financial goal after Florida was to, not for a few years, but I wrote down £1 million. And I was like, I want the business to turn over £1 million. At the time, I think we were turning over £500,000. And I was just like, that is a whole different level when you're turning over £500,000 to get to that £1 million, the infrastructure, the systems, the people, management, stress. And we achieved it. And I think setting yourself goals, even to the point of setting scary goals, risky goals, stretching yourself and really showing yourself what you're capable of. And if you miss it, then you've got another 365 days the following year to get as close as you can to it or to go past it. And I think I've set goals right away throughout that point from making that goal. I've always set goals, and some I've hit, some I've achieved, and some I haven't, and that's okay.
I'm a big fan of stretchy goals. And I think like those as kind of really scary goals, if you're that type of, you can be, everyone's different, but if you're that type of person, it can be really motivational. And it doesn't mean, as you say, some you're going to hit, some you're not going to hit. Do you think that, because one of my questions was there someone specific that's influenced your relationship with money? But I'd like to change it a bit around as in, where did that come from? Are there other people in your life that have influenced you, either be through business or family or friends that have kind of, helped that 16-year-old who were like, how am I going to do this, along the way, that you can look back and go, actually, they did influence that?
Yeah, I think from a childhood perspective, we didn't go abroad a lot as a child. I don't think I went on an aeroplane till I was maybe 13, 14, or 12, 13, round about that age. So we never was jet setters as kids, but we had a caravan and school holidays, because my father had his own business. School holidays, he would close the shop, and I was one of 6 and I'm the youngest. So at the busiest time in the family, there were 6 of us on tow with a caravan, and we'd be gone for the school holidays, and looking back now, I know at the time I didn't appreciate how expensive that was for my mum and dad to take 6 kids on a caravan holiday, money every day. We want to play the bandits, and you don't realize or appreciate any of that when you're younger and you're a child. So I think my parents always liked to have nice food. We didn't eat out a lot, but we always had nice food in the house. And I think I was just brought up to appreciate nice things in life. It doesn't always have to be, the brand new car, or I was brought up to just, I don't know, I just had this nice kind of comfortable way of choosing things. And it's funny because if I look at something, if somebody gave me a magazine and I look at two pictures, I'd always pick the dearest one. I don't know where that come from. I could be anywhere, and it's just like, I picked the dearest one. And I think, so when I was younger growing up, that kind of shaped my view of my parents worked hard, and they had, when we were older, they started going abroad a little bit more without us. So and I looked at that and I thought, I would like to have that life. And as I've got older, especially in business, there's definitely a few people who've shaped my seeing other people who are incredibly successful. And it's not about the materialistic things. It's not about maybe a 7-bed or 8-bed house. It's not about that. It's about just the life that you're able to live when you're not stressing 24/7 about what bill you're going to pay. And I think it's just being able to, I've had that stress. I've done that. Like, I never want to go back to that point. It's difficult. People say money doesn't bring you happiness, but I think what money does is it allows you to do the things that does bring you happiness. So if that is like eating out, I love eating out, or I love going on holidays, you can't do none of that without money. So for me, money is important, and it's not the end and be all, but you do need to have money to be able to do things.
It's really interesting, isn't it? Like, so many people don't want to talk about it, which is why I want to have these conversations. But how then, reflecting on that, what you've just said about it being important, how would you describe your current relationship with money? If I asked you to do that, like, in one word.
My current relationship with money, I'm tight, good, I'm sensible. So there we are. We got 3 words: tight, good,
Three
and
words:
sensible.
tight, good, and sensible. Do you think, and this is something that I'm really intrigued about, like, psychologically as well, because you've sold the business, you've made money is therefore around you, and you're not got that stress of having to think about how you're going to pay the bill. But do you find that actually, even more so now with money, you find yourself going, I'm not sure it's worth that, or and when you use the word tight, is that what you mean? Like, you're like, well, I could do that, but I'm not going to do that, or
I think there's 2 ways that I'd answer that. When you've got a pot of cash, let's just look at it as a pot of cash. If you don't find ways to replenish the cash, it just goes down and down and down. And when you've got a monthly income coming in, and when I was running my cleaning business, there was a monthly salary coming in. I could take a dividend if the business was doing well. So, there was that constant cycle then every month of money coming in, money going out, money coming in. So I was able to, I don't know, I think I was a lot more carefree with money back then. And then when you sell a business and you've got this money in one account, you start to look at the money and go, oh my God. So if there's nothing coming in, but there's loads going out on the bills, the mortgage, I've paid my mortgage off now, but at the time I didn't. I was going through a divorce, so I didn't want to pay the mortgage off just then. And I just think, I don't know. So for me, the reason why I say I'm a lot more conservative or tight now is because I'm not at a point where I'm earning that cash flow again. There's not, I'm not at a point where there's money coming in. I diversified, I put money into assets, a sum of money just kept in the bank, because I think if you've got money sat in one place and all your eggs in one basket, you're definitely open to risk. So I've diversified my portfolio. I've put in a different couple of properties, which who could see the property crash come, with 2022, with the announcement in that budget. And I think, what that did to interest rates in property skyrocketed. So I think it's a risk you take, and I'm not afraid to take risks, but I don't know, it's just harder now when there's not that money coming in and you've just got that pot of money. I don't know, it's
psychologically quite difficult. I mean, normally I'd be talking about that with people who, in my role as a financial planner, of people who are like older and maybe finishing work, and their earning years are kind of behind them, because it is psychologically difficult to go from like accumulating to decumulating and knowing you've got that finite pot. But the reality is as well for you is that that finite pot that you've got has to last a really long time because of when you've sold the business, isn't it? So you've got longevity risk of that. So I totally get that. And also, if you're still up for it and want to do it, you want to be generating more money and getting out there and doing what you're brilliant at.
Yeah, definitely. And it's not all about the money. It is about the people for me. But I think, as I've said, I do like nice holidays. I mean, I drive a 9-year-old car. I did treat myself to a nice car. And then I was like, no, that's an absolute waste. I'm going to sell it. So I sold it 5 months later. I was like, I just, my whole mindset went, no, I'm not buying this. I'm not buying this. I'm not buying this. Completely reverted and changed. I think I've definitely got a lot more respect for money now than I ever did when I was running my business. I got a lot more respect. Even though I understood it was hard work to earn it, I appreciate money a lot more now. It's not coming in all the time.
Yeah. And how are you approaching that balance really between, enjoying what you've got and going, hang on a second, it does have to last and I might need to earn. Like if it's just, you're the first person I've spoken to who has, ramped up, sold a business and now is at this stage where you're a lot of people I'm talking to are still in the stage where they're working and they're trying to balance that and work out how they save and how they think about the future. But it's a different angle for you, really.
So I'm very, as I said, tight, conservative. I pay myself a wage every month. So I've got different bank accounts. I transfer money from here. So I've got a savings account that generates interest. So then I pay myself a wage out of that account. So it's quite good interest rates at the moment. So yeah. I'm able to pay myself out of that. The property kind of just ticks over and looks after itself and does all the maintenance and stuff. So I've got the money in the property over that side. And I just pay myself a very small...
So you're still budgeting, like you're still doing that kind of like strict budgeting and how you would have before that.
Yeah, I'll say to my partner, could I, if I wanted to go and have an extra meal or go out and buy myself a dress, could I? Yes. But I don't. I say to my partner, I'm like, right, that's it, this is what I got on my budget. And I look at my bank account and I'm like, Rain, why are you being like this? And I think the way that I think is if I sold all of my assets and I put a backpack on my back and traveled the world and the money was in the bank, I think I'd live a very different, freer life because I don't have a house that I've got responsibilities for. I don't have to pay the maintenance on the property. So I think a lot of those a lot of my worries come from, I do have a lot of assets in terms of property. When something goes wrong, you've got to be smart and streetwise with your money because you never know what's going to come. And yeah, I could earn money tomorrow. I could go back and set up another cleaning company. Obviously not in office clinics, I'm not allowed, but I could set up another cleaning company doing external cleaning and I could generate an income. So it's not a case of I'm scared of losing it all because I know I could generate it. But I think it's about looking after what I have got. I was 36 when I sold, so that's very young, I think, for someone to sell a business. If I was 55, 60, oh my God, I'd be traveling the world. I'd be like, right, that's it, kids. Your mother's out of here.
It's really interesting, isn't it? Like how there's an element of care that has to be, as you said, like you said earlier, like you respect money more and you have to look after that. But it's sad in a way that then you say, oh, well, I was more carefree and I did what, sort of, it's an interesting dynamic, Rayner.
I think that's just my mindset as well, to be honest with you. I think that's just my mind, I don't know. I do have a lot more respect for money. I do appreciate money. If I'm having a nice meal, I appreciate it a lot more. I think it's when you've got it, you can take things for granted. I've got 4 properties at the moment. I don't have any debt really. So I could sell the assets. I could sell my cars. I could sell my VW. I could sell my house, which I'm mortgage free on. I could do that. But I don't know. It just, because it's not there liquid in my bank, I can't take a brick out of my house and go to Tesco.
No, you can't eat the bricks, right? Yeah, you can't do that. Yeah.
Hey, Mr. Tesco, can I just exchange it until my house sells? It's not going to work, is it? So I don't know. I think when you do have money and you've never had money, and then you work your absolute butt off, and then you create something, you do want to look after it. You do respect it. You do understand what I put my body through. And I also remember, I'll never forget the sacrifices that I made to get to this point. You know, it was not being here as much for the kids on times. It was missing a kid, my daughter's Christmas concert. It's a good job they did have 2 days. Otherwise, well, I still don't live it down now. But I think it's those sacrifices that you never, ever forget that running a successful business or any business takes from you.
Yeah. And one thing I'm really interested in, if you're willing to share, is earlier you said, when you were selling the business, you were going through a divorce. And that's something that, women especially end up quite often financially being in a really difficult position because of the way generally our society still works with caring and responsibilities that a woman tends to lead with. Is there anything kind of lesson wise or what you went through with your ex-partner where you can look back and go, I made really good decisions, or actually I made a bad decision there or I guess an experience that might help people who are listening and who might be thinking, God, I'm in this position.
I think that's a bit difficult. Divorce. Maybe I shouldn't have sometimes been as stubborn, but I think we were both stubborn. He wanted this. I didn't want to give him that. I ended up paying him quite a financial sum of money as part of the divorce. He kept properties, so we had 4 properties between us. So, and I think I definitely feel like I was the one that didn't come out the best. I remained in the house. I paid my mortgage off. And I think the biggest thing I would say is the only ones that win in a divorce is the solicitors. And that's so true. And I know people say it all the time. And if I just, I might have saved quite a few £1,000s on legal fees if we were able to do it amicable. But I think it made it 10 times harder when, which is public knowledge anyway, he announced that he texted my kids to say that he was dating my secretary in my business. So it became, that's public knowledge. It's out in the public domain. So I just got to say that just in case.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
But I think that made the divorce a lot more bitter and a lot more hard to go through, because not only did I sell my business, I then found out, my husband was leaving me. And then 3 weeks later, he texted my kids to say that he is going to ask my old secretary out for a date. And I think, so when you're going through all that trauma, like I had 358 staff when I sold. When I sold, you're off your emails, your WhatsApp, everything just goes overnight. So your dream of selling a business would be financial freedom, time freedom, choice freedom. All of that kind of just, the idea of a business sale in my mind was the complete opposite, because it was stress, trauma, heartbreak, and then I found out I had skin cancer. So it literally was just like, I was just thinking, how am I ever going to get through something like this? And I'm 3 years on since separated. But the biggest thing is, to answer it, is just try and be as amicable as you can, because I think when you've got legal fees and you're paying hundreds of pounds a letter and this, it just literally racks up quite quickly.
And interestingly, with all of, there's several layers of trauma going on there, the business, and I can, business and what you've built, then, sort of not being, you've been paid for it, but it's suddenly not what it was the day before. And then, everything with your ex, and then obviously illness. Like, those are all traumas that hopefully we might see at separate times, or you might only ever have one, or they're all things that you've got to change, and making financial decisions around that times in that state is really difficult as well.
I think I was a little bit reckless to begin with, hence I went and bought myself a Porsche, and then I booked a couple of holidays. I took my daughter to America, and I don't think I was in the right frame of mind to have the funds that I had from my business sale to be able to make some of the decisions that I made, and I think I do look back on some of them and I think, oh my God, Rayner, why did you do that? Why did you spend that on that? I think I kind of, probably for the best part of the first year, I was out wherever I could, probably drunk a little bit too much wine. And I think that just helped me, or at the time I felt it was helping me just
Process.
and mask the pain and trauma. And then you realize, okay, well, we're a year on and this still hasn't gone away. So, okay, now I need to start peeling back all of those layers that you've just suppressed and suppressed. And I think I've definitely made some silly decisions, but I've also made some smart decisions as well. Biggest thing I would say is I wish that I had listened to a friend and just sat and did nothing. But as humans, do we always listen to other people? No.
It's really interesting, isn't it? Like, I remember a client saying to me, she was retiring I think in November, and I saw her in like January, and she said, nope, I'm just not planning anything like to start off with. I'm just going to let myself have 6 months where I just, do kind of like everything that I want to do day to day, but I haven't made big plans. And because I just want to settle into it. And it's slightly different because she's older, but it's a similar thing, isn't it? When there's those big things go on, maybe we have to just take a step back and go, I mean, I still think you should have gone on holiday, and I still think I probably would have bought the Porsche, but I still think, it's a time of reflection is always good as well.
Yeah, I mean, I would like another Porsche one day, but I've promised myself that my next purchase is going to be from what I've earned, because that fulfills me and gives me satisfaction as well to know that even though I've earned what I've got, I don't know, it's challenging that mindset to go, no, be sensible, be smart, and yeah, I don't regret the holidays. They've been nice.
No. Yeah, exactly. Who regrets a holiday? And so with the new business, coming back to what we were talking about, financial goals, like, are you running like that business with the same mindset, as in, are you set, where you want to be and set yourself some scary, stretchy goals for that business?
Yeah, sorry, I thought you'd finished then.
No, I have,
yeah. I have, yes. I've set myself some scary goals. I think it's always harder so what I'm doing is training, mentoring, coaching other business owners, and having people to accept that the best investment they can ever make is in themselves. But a lot of people don't value themselves enough to invest in themselves, which is the reality, because maybe at times I never did. I'd look at a price tag and go, oh, I'm not paying that. Rather than looking at what it could have helped me with, I'd look at it and think, I'm not paying that price. But if you can pay a certain price and it helps you get to the end goal much quicker, you then look at the return on investment and think it's a very smart move. I think it's just about, I've definitely set myself some scary goals. Self-doubt creeps in now and again where I think, oh my God, why am I doing this again? But then on the other hand, I get up and I think I absolutely love what I do. I'm right in the beginning of it. I pretty much only formally launched in October. I've been working with quite a few clients one-to-one, and I've done 2 group sessions at the moment, training. So one's been online, which is a brand new world to me, and one has been an in-person training day. Again, it's a brand new world to me. I'm not teaching people how to clean. I'm teaching them how to run a successful business, how to scale a business, and how to scale sustainably. There's no point growing a business if you're losing so much of work off the back end. You start with this, you win that, but then you lose that. So at the end of the year, you've pretty much stayed the same, but your managers and everybody else is stressed out because you've won a lot of work, but you've lost the same amount in terms of value. So it's about how do you grow sustainably.
You said it right, sustainably.
Yeah, sustainably. How do you grow sustainably and without burning yourself out?
Yeah, absolutely. And, that is something, isn't it? The concept of coaching and asking, or, which is effectively getting help from someone else who's been through that and who can give you the goals and the way that they've managed to do it, or give you tips and keep you on track and keep you accountable. I think it's really important for business owners. And so I'm sure it's going to be massively successful. But I love your honesty in the fact that your imposter syndrome kicks in and says, oh, I don't know.
Is there, trust me. Like, I think it's the self-doubt as well. It's like, what do I really know? And I think one of the biggest core beliefs, I've done a lot of counselling over the years where I've actually had the counselling through my depression and mental health, and one of my core beliefs has always been just like not good enough. So I've done a lot of work around that core belief of not good enough, and every now and again I can just hear it's just there somewhere, and it just goes, but who would want to listen to you? Or, is that good enough? Am I delivering the right type of content? But it's done me okay in life. Not everything's worked out well, but it's done me okay in life. But it's just I think it's self-belief, just having that self-belief and just looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, believe in yourself, just believe in yourself and believe in what you do.
Absolutely. And I think, you know what, it's going to be really refreshing for people to hear, whether they're whatever stage of business you're at, wherever you're at, that, that little bit of self-doubt does creep in, but we've all got to believe, because we are delivering and we are able to have those things, and we do deliver, that we have things to share that is going to be of value to people. And that's part of running business and thinking of new projects and being a thought maker in the space, really, isn't it? Because that's what you're doing. When I see on LinkedIn, what you're putting out there is amazing. So I'm sure that that's all going to generate amazing traction for you.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I get some fantastic messages and, some great, phenomenal opportunities that come from LinkedIn, working with clients one-to-one. Those types of clients are my ideal clients. They're the ones that do see the value in what I offer and what I could do. And so working with business owners, I don't know, it's just amazing to sit back. So I've worked with one in particular for the last 3 months, and just seeing how much he has grown in 3 months. He's gone from saying, he would do everything or cover all the shifts himself, cover the sickness. He would do all of that himself. But working with me for 3 months, he's actually said it. He's delegating. He knows how to delegate. He's delegating successfully, because you can't just say to someone, right, here's my job, go and do it. You've got to make sure that you've got systems in place to be able to ensure that that person's doing it successfully. Otherwise, you're going to end up with loads of client complaints. So just seeing the journey that these people are on when I work with them on a one-to-one basis, it just literally lights up my soul. And I think it's that then I need to just hold on to a little bit more and say, yeah, it is working, but I'm impatient as well, okay? So I'm very, I don't know if it's a woman thing, but I'm quite impatient. I like things yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, we'll start to wind up now because we've been chatting for a bit. But if you could give one piece of financial advice to your younger self, and let me put that means a lot younger self because you're still very young, what would it be?
That's a really tricky one. Advice to my younger self. My advice to my younger self would be just respect. I should have respected money a little bit more when it was almost just coming in. That's when I was running the business. Younger self. Yeah, money doesn't grow on trees, so you've got to work hard for it.
Still the same messaging coming through.
Yeah, but money doesn't grow on trees, so work hard. I think that's the only thing I've known how to do is work hard.
Yeah. Okay, Rayner, well, thank you so much. So that people know where to find you, we've talked about LinkedIn and I know they can find you there, but do you have a website or anything as well?
The website's in the middle of being built at the moment. So I am on Instagram under Falcon _Cleaning _Academy. I'm on Facebook. I've got a Facebook group for Falcon Cleaning Academy and Rayner Mayers, and LinkedIn.
Okay. Fab. Well, we'll make sure we put it all in the notes to the show anyway. So that's great. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Rayner. I've really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you very much for having me. And it's been an interesting conversation, because you're right, a lot of people don't really talk about money. It's a very different conversation.
Yeah, thank you for being so open and honest with it and being willing to talk about money with me today.
Thank you.